Right. Let's get a shift on. Okay, folks, so there, I was pretty much done and set for most of the rest of this month. But then they had to go and drop another Doctor Who trailer and completely throw me off. And this one honestly, in a way, feels a little bit more like a teaser than the last one did, because it feels much more tiny snippets across a whole lot of stuff, and it doesn't feel like as focused a look. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but my general, what I'm used to is that the teasers are more, first trailers are more, zooming in on I'm sorry, I got it backwards. I gotta get my head straight. First trailers in my head are usually more like bits here, little bits, get you a feel. And then later trailers, you close in more on the characters. I feel like they did the opposite here, which is, that's fine. That's a way to do it. There's a lot to like. I like the look that the whole thing is going for. There's a lot of sense of scale and scope in a lot of these shots we get. There's a sense of grandeur, a sense of epicness, which I always like Doctor Who to have when it can. And it looks like that they're really aiming high for that end of it. And that is reassuring to me. I like seeing that. That makes me happy. So I like all that. The effects look really good. Like there were quite a few effect shots of quite a few different things, from spaceships to dust storms to giant spiders, and it all looked pretty dang good. And to see, that it's a wide variety and not just like one shot that they linger on that looks really good. Like, okay, well, they put all the money in that. How's the rest of it gonna look? No, this was nicely spread out, and that's good. I actually think that Doctor Who effects-wise has been pretty solid for most of its run, for the time that it was made, and it's nice to see that continuing forward, because it's always a rough sign when there is a notable sort of aesthetic or budgetary downgrade. When you skimp on special effects, you can tell, especially if you don't adjust the stories you're telling accordingly. So I didn't see any of that. Don't get a ton more sense of the Doctor herself, and we don't really get enough off the companions to get much from them. We get the sense that they trust her, because we've got that whole thing of she's in charge, says who, says us, and they have all immediately got her back, and that's kind of a volume of numbers and that kind of lend of support. That's cool, and I like how automatic that response was from them. That said, that is going to lead me to one of the things that made me go a little bit, and that is that moment. I don't know if it is, because we don't really know much about the character, but it feels like it could feasibly be the kind of thing that I've said I'm worried about, which is putting a lot of emphasis on how being a woman makes things different. So, like, historically, and at least in modern Doctor Who, not always as much in classic, but in modern Doctor Who, certainly the Doctor has tended to come into a situation and basically command the room. And the times when that has not happened have been pretty noticeable, like, say, Midnight. But by and large, the Doctor comes in, and when the Doctor decides to take charge, he is able to do that. So if they are going to put a lot of emphasis on, well, no, people aren't going to defer to this Doctor because now it's a woman, like maybe once, assuming it's not too cringy. I really hope that's not going to be a recurring thing, and I really hope I'm over-reading that into this. But that leads me to the other thing, which sort of allows me to retroactively talk about the really brief teaser that came out, a week and a half ago or so, that people wanted me to talk about, but I decided not to, because I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. So there's the tagline that I really, really wish they weren't using. And it's about time. And I know why it's there, because somebody in their marketing decided it'd be a cute pun. because that's the sentiment of a decent chunk of fans in regards to a female doctor. Plus, the show, it's about time travel, so it's about time. Ha! Except first of all, it's not as clever as they think it is. And then it feels unnecessarily confrontational as a sentiment in terms of putting it front and center in the marketing, especially because this is not the first time we've seen it, because we saw it in that teaser from before that some people really wanted me to talk about, which I think has kind of come to be known as the glass ceiling trailer, where the doctor's in, kind of a cathedral, with a big glass dome, and that shatters. She kind of looks at the camera and goes, sorry, and then it's about time. And I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with any of that, but I just wish they didn't do it. Not because I think it's bad, and not that I even think it necessarily puts an emphasis on the things that I've said I'm afraid of, an excessive emphasis on the doctor now being a woman and making a big deal out of it, when I think just having it be would be better. We'll see. But this marketing tagline doesn't make me more worried about that, because I do understand the separation between the creators of the show and the people who market it. That's pretty much never the same people. And I'm not going to hold Chris Chibnall and his writing staff responsible for what the marketing team has decided to push with this stuff. So it doesn't make me worried in that sense. That one scene that I mentioned, that I'm a little like, okay, I'm going to keep my eye on that. But this marketing stuff doesn't make me worried, but I still wish they weren't doing it, because it's poking the bear. And I don't know what they think they gain out of doing that at this point, because we are at a point where whatever Doctor Who fans who are putting their foot down and are not going to watch the new Doctor because it's a woman, they've made their choice already. So to continue to hammer on something when, I don't mean to make it sound like a war, but basically when the lines are already drawn, when people have already picked their sides, to do something like this feels both prematurely celebratory and also, like I said, kind of oddly confrontational. It's like they're poking the bear on it, and I just would rather they didn't. And again, I don't even necessarily have a problem with the weight of the significance of this. I do appreciate it. I'm not trying to downplay it, but it's really just a matter of what is gained at this point by needling the thing. I really just want the product to stand on its own. And because I don't want the show itself to be making internally within the narrative a huge deal out of this, that means that for the marketing to do it, I feel it's distracting. I feel they're setting it up to let somebody down. Because either the show is going to back up this kind of marketing, in which case I suppose the marketing would be at least representative, and that's not going to be what I want to see, or they're putting out this kind of marketing and it's not representative of the show, but then they're making the show appear more confrontationally political than it in fact is. And it's just one of those marketing decisions that, again, I think they just came up with what they thought was a cute bit of symbolism and a cute tagline, and just, yeah, I think there are people I made the line in the sands thing, and thinking back on it, that's not the right term, because line in the sands implies that there's only two sides to be on. But there really aren't. The whole thing's a gradation. So while there are certainly the people who said, Doctor Who's dead, and are still leaving comments on random Doctor Who videos that I do, going, Doctor Who, rest in peace, 2017. Like, oh, for God's sake. Look, and, they made their call a long time ago. But that doesn't mean that everybody who didn't immediately go, I'm not watching, is 100% on your side. I think there's a decent chunk of fandom that is, either skeptical or cautiously optimistic, because I think anyone who's being realistic, there's a lot that can go wrong here. Not because it's a woman, but because it's a massive change to the show. And when you do a massive change to any ongoing thing, that can go very wrong. And to sort of, there's a difference between going forward with confidence and going forward cocky. And this "it's about time" tagline, to me, feels like it crosses the line a bit into cocky. And cocky can turn people off. And it can turn the people who are, trying to be open to you but are a little bit skeptical off, because it can feel like you're getting lumped in with the people who already bailed and are very adamantly against this. And yeah, I just wish they didn't have this tagline, and I wish it hadn't appeared in more than one piece of marketing. And that's kind of where I land ultimately on that whole end of it. I've probably now spent more time talking about that than about the trailer itself. But I mean, honestly, there's not too much you can grab from the trailer. It's just tiny bits, tiny moments. I like the vibe off her performance. She looks good running with that coat. I like the final moment that sort of, I love that. That felt very nice. Just lack of a better term, just felt nice. So I'm gonna wrap it up there. I'm really excited for this series to get started, so bring it on. So that's going to wrap it up for me, folks. Second trailer for Doctor Who Series 11. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. There's a whole bunch of stuff to do. There's buttons and there's links down there, including one to the Patreon. Maybe check them out if you feel like it. So that's going to wrap it up, folks. Remember, you're the council. I just run the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned.